While my channel is usually focused on reviews, I've been wanting to branch out and make some different types of videos, so I thought I'd make a video running down the biggest announcements at last week's game showcases, and giving my thoughts on them. I'm planning to continue making this type of video going forward over E3 and whenever other conferences and showcases like PlayStation State of Plays or Nintendo Directs happen. Last week saw 5 different streams packed with game reveals. There was the Dragon Quest 35th anniversary stream, the Sonic Central celebrating the Blue Blur's 30th anniversary, the first of Dying Light 2's Dying to Know streams, a State of Play giving us our first look at Horizon Forbidden West's gameplay, and a Far Cry 6 stream that debuted gameplay. I'm going to discuss all 5 of these showcases in this video, but if you're only interested in hearing about a specific event, I've included timestamps in the description. Now, without further delay, let's dive right into it with the Dragon Quest 35th anniversary stream. The Dragon Quest stream saw 6 reveals, including the announcement of 5 brand new games that are currently in development. This showcase was very Japanese, very quirky, and they played the Dragon Quest theme an absurd amount of times. But I really liked it. While I don't think every announcement was particularly exciting, and I wish they gave us more info on some of the titles, I still thought that this stream included enough noteworthy reveals, and I can honestly say I was at no point bored watching it. I was also happy to see so many of the games announced here were confirmed to have simultaneous worldwide releases. Now, let's run through the 6 games that were showcased. The showcase kicked off with Dragon Quest Keshi Keshi, a strange new free-to-play Match 3 mobile game in the style of Candy Crush or Bejeweled. It sees an assortment of heroes, monsters, and items from the Dragon Quest universe transformed into erasers. In fact, its name literally translates to Dragon Quest Eraser Eraser. I'm a little confused as to why Square Enix decided to make this game, as the mobile market is already flooded with games like this. In such a saturated market, it's going to be hard for this game to stand out. This is a game that I'm definitely going to pass on, but those who are interested will be glad to hear that this will be releasing globally. Dragon Quest X showed off some new content as it rapidly approaches its 10th anniversary. If you're not familiar with it, Dragon Quest X is an MMO like Final Fantasy XI or XIV. Unfortunately, it never saw a Western release. People had speculated that a Western release could be announced here, but instead, Square reaffirmed in this showcase that there's still no plans for one. I really think this was the last chance to see a Western release for Dragon Quest X announced, and the fact that we didn't hear about it here makes me think that we'll probably never see it localised, which is a shame. Dragon Quest X Offline is, as you'd assume from the title, an offline, standalone version of Dragon Quest X that strips out the MMO elements to let you experience Dragon Quest X's story solo. Dragon Quest X Offline looks drastically different to Dragon Quest X visually. It ditches the regular Dragon Quest art style for chibi characters, and the environments look massively scaled down. This seems like a more casual experience that will be akin to what Square did with Final Fantasy XV Pocket Edition. Strangely, there was no mention of what platforms this will be releasing on. Square have said there's currently no plans to bring this to the West, though I think we're far more likely to see this game localised eventually than the full Dragon Quest X, as a smaller game like this would take far less work to localise. For me, the most exciting announcement of this stream was the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. I've loved the HD 2D visual style since it made its debut in Octopath Traveler. It's an entirely unique style that blends 2D pixel art with 3D elements and backgrounds to give a sense of depth to environments. Seeing a Dragon Quest game in this style is incredibly exciting. Octopath Traveler is one of the best looking games I've ever played, and this looks similarly breathtaking. Dragon Quest III is also one of the most beloved games in the franchise, and I've never actually played it, but this kind of traditional turn-based JRPG is one of the ultimate kinds of comfort food games for me, so I can't wait to finally experience Dragon Quest III with this remake. I was also stoked to hear that this is another game that's planning a simultaneous worldwide release. Interestingly, it was also mentioned that Square Enix were considering remaking the first 2 Dragon Quest titles in this style at some point. I really hope this is Square Enix testing the water with remaking games in this style, because I'd absolutely love to see Final Fantasy IV or VI get the HD 2D remake treatment. Dragon Quest Treasures is a brand new spin-off starring siblings Eric and Mia from Dragon Quest XI. Details about this game are pretty few and far between, but what we do know about Treasures is that it's a prequel to 11 that sees Eric and Mia as kids hunting for treasure. Eric was one of my favourite characters in Dragon Quest XI, so I'm excited to see more of him and his sister. The trailer also seemed to tease some light platforming mechanics, and the producer confirmed that this will be an RPG, but also said it'll be nothing like a traditional RPG. We'll have to wait and see what exactly that means, but Dragon Quest has had a lot of surprisingly good spin-offs over the years, so this could definitely be worth keeping an eye on. And excitingly, this is also another game targeting a worldwide launch. Speaking of Dragon Quest spin-offs, it's also worth noting that while discussing this game, it was alluded to that another Dragon Quest Monsters game is also in development, so we'll likely be seeing that at some point down the line too. As a lot of us expected, the Dragon Quest stream closed out with the announcement of the next mainline Dragon Quest game. Unfortunately, all we really got out of this dark and ominous reveal trailer was a logo, and while I certainly wish we got more, we were given a couple of interesting tidbits afterwards, with Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii promising that Dragon Quest XII is going to be darker than previous Dragon Quest titles, and even going as far as to call the game a Dragon Quest for adults. He also implied that this game will feature more player agency than previous games, saying that choices can impact how the story pans out. But maybe the biggest piece of news Yuji Horii dropped while talking about 12 was that Dragon Quest XII will see the command battle system changed. They're not planning to ditch it completely, but it seems like it'll be heavily modified. This is a pretty huge deal, as the Dragon Quest series has always remained very traditional in its mechanics. While its rival series Final Fantasy has experimented with countless different battle systems over the years, Dragon Quest's mainline games have never strayed too far from the classic turn-based approach to combat. Dragon Quest XII is another game that's targeting a worldwide simultaneous launch, which is awesome, because we've never seen a numbered Dragon Quest game released day and date in Japan and the West. Unfortunately, this is another game that was revealed with no release window or even platforms. This combined with the fact that we only saw a logo for the game leads me to assume this is still pretty far out from release. I'm guessing we won't be getting our hands on Dragon Quest XII until late 2023 at the earliest. And with that, we're done with the Dragon Quest 35th anniversary stream. There were a handful of unexpected surprises, like the Dragon Quest III remake and Dragon Quest Treasures, though I've got to say, I was a little surprised we didn't see any new entries for some of the existing Dragon Quest spin-off series, like Heroes and Builders, and I was definitely disappointed to see so many games revealed not only without release windows, but without platforms. Even with that said, I still thought this was a pretty entertaining showcase, and it definitely left me excited to see more of 12, 3 Remake and Treasures. Next up, we have Sonic Central to talk about. This stream was focused on announcements celebrating the 30th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it offered us a whole host of information on not only games, but also other Sonic offerings like cartoons, merch, and even a free virtual symphony that you can tune into on the 23rd of June to hear a selection of the best music from Sonic's 3-decade-long history, performed by both a symphony orchestra as well as some other musicians like Crush 40, who have provided iconic music for the franchise, which is cool because a lot of Sonic games have killer soundtracks. As this is a gaming channel, I'm only really going to focus on the game announcements featured in the show, so let's break down the announcements. A series of collaborations with other Sega-published games were announced to kick off the stream. Sonic will be appearing as a playable character in the 2020 Olympics video game in the form of a mascot costume, and it looks, well, really fucking weird. Another unexpected collaboration sees Sonic-themed items and costumes making their way into the popular hospital management game 2 Point Hospital. And finally, the 1996 fighting game Sonic the Fighters will be playable in the arcades around town in the Yakuza spin-off Lost Judgment. There's been a long history of Sega arcade games popping up in the arcades of the Yakuza franchise, so it's not too surprising, but it's still cool to see this pop up, even if you probably won't want to play Sonic the Fighters for more than a few minutes. This section concluded with the promise of more crossover collaborations being announced over the year, and a quick tease that one of the other games featuring Sonic content will be Minecraft. The remaster of Sonic Colors was finally announced after it leaked a couple of months back. It's definitely cool to see this game make a return, as it's one of the best modern Sonic games. Sonic Colors along with Sonic Generations was something of a return to form for the Sonic series after a handful of dud releases. This looks like a pretty substantial step up visually as well. Its environments still look bright and vibrant, and seeing as this was originally a Wii game, this is the first time we've ever seen Sonic Colors in HD. I remember really liking this game when it originally came out, so I'm definitely going to revisit it, so you can keep an eye out later this year for a full review on my channel. And if you want more of Sonic Colors, they did also announce a 2-part animation called Sonic Colors Rise of the Wisps. This will feature the full voice cast of the Sonic games, and it boasts a very unique animation style that I've never seen anything Sonic related look like before. I'm probably not going to be watching this, but for kids and hardcore Sonic fans, it could be good. One of the more exciting announcements of this Sonic Central was Sonic Origins, a collection bundling Sonic 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles and Sonic CD. It'll be nice to have a convenient way to access all of these classic 2D Sonic games on modern consoles. The trailer also teased that there would be added content and special features in this collection. It's just a shame that this collection isn't coming out until 2022, so it won't actually coincide with Sonic's 30th anniversary. You've got to imagine that they must have intended for it to launch this year, so I wonder if the development of Sonic Origins was impacted by COVID. I also found it odd that there were no platforms listed for this collection, seeing as the next game also isn't coming out until 2022, but did offer a full list of platforms. Sonic Central closed out with a brief teaser for a new Sonic Team developed Sonic game that's coming in 2022. Somehow Sega managed to make a trailer even more ambiguous than Dragon Quest XII's. This extremely bizarre, brief teaser told us pretty much nothing about the game. We didn't even get a title. All we really know is that this game is coming out next year and will release on both current gen and last gen consoles. There are a couple of smaller game announcements during this stream, like in-game events for the Sonic mobile games, and the announcement that a handful of Sonic titles are coming to streaming services that I didn't touch on, and that's because I don't really have anything to say about them. But to give credit where it's due, this showcase moved by so fast that I wasn't bothered by these less interesting news tidbits, or the announcement of a truly strange collaboration with King Ice to make Sonic jewellery, because before I could even question it, we were on to the next thing. This presentation was just immaculately paced. They managed to cram in so many announcements in just 15 minutes, it really felt like it was perfectly designed to keep its viewers engaged and not waste your time. A lot of other companies could learn a lot from watching this showcase, including the company we're talking about next. I'm a sucker for a good zombie game. I know a lot of people are burned out on zombies, but I still can't go past an interesting looking zombie movie, game or comic. I loved the first Dying Light, and thought it was such a huge leap forward from Dead Island for Techland, so I'm eagerly looking forward to this next game. Unfortunately, I don't think this was the best showcase. While the gameplay looked great, this presentation was just far too drawn out, and it bombarded viewers with an overload of granular information which made it impossible to absorb all the information that was presented. This showcase was done in the style of Cyberpunk's Night City Wire streams, with gameplay footage being sandwiched between the hosts talking to the developers. I usually quite like this style of presentation as it allows for the developers to offer some extra context for what we've just watched. But in this stream, they had interviews with about 6 different developers, which felt a little overboard. But let's talk about what was announced during this showing, because I really liked the new gameplay trailer and was happy to see that Dying Light 2 seems to be expanding on the first game's mechanics in all the right ways to make this sequel even better than the breakthrough original. One thing I wasn't expecting to see in this presentation was the announcement of a new name for this game, with the game's full title now being Dying Light 2 Stay Human. This is a cool title that leans into the story and themes of Dying Light, as everyone in the world of Dying Light is already infected with the virus, and it's only exposure to UV light that's preventing them from turning into zombies. If you didn't play the first game, you'll still be able to safely jump into Dying Light 2, as this game features a pretty substantial time jump, taking place 20 years after the first game. Though if you do want to go back, there's no better time than right now, as this stream also announced a new version of the first game, Dying Light Platinum Edition, which includes every piece of DLC. As I already said, I loved this game, so I certainly think it's worth checking out if you missed it when it first came out in 2015. I think people tend to underestimate just how astronomically popular the first game was, with Techland revealing that the first Dying Light had 23 million players. Dying Light's awesome parkour mechanics were my favourite aspect of the first game. They allowed you to free run along the skyline, which gave Dying Light's environments a lot more verticality than your average open world game. It played almost like a blend of Dead Island and Mirror's Edge, which made it stand out even amongst the oversaturation of zombie games on the market. And it seems like Dying Light 2's traversal will be even more refined. The parkour system has been massively expanded in this game, with Dying Light 2 featuring over twice as many unique parkour moves as the first game, and over 3,000 unique animations tied to parkour. This should make Dying Light 2's parkour significantly more fluid than the first game. I'm so glad to see that parkour is still something Techland are thinking about first and foremost while developing Dying Light 2. There also seems to be a respectable amount of variety in Dying Light 2's weapons. There's an assortment of bladed weapons, blunt weapons, guns, and bows. In the world of Dying Light, nighttime is extremely dangerous. It's when the zombies come out to hunt, so you'll see them in far greater numbers at night. They're also stronger at night, so you need to utilise UV light to weaken them. Dying Light 2 promises to make the nights even more intense than they were in the first game, thanks to new types of infected and zombies appearing in greater numbers than ever. While nighttime is dangerous, it also offers opportunities to seek out greater rewards than you'll find in the daytime, as there are areas you can only access at night, like the nests where zombies sleep in the day. Dying Light 2 sees 3 warring factions struggling for control of the city. It'll be up to you to decide whether you ally yourself with these factions or fight against them, and each of these 3 factions has characters for you to get to know and form alliances with. Your choices will affect the way Dying Light 2's branching narrative unfolds, so you'll want to choose your allies carefully. Something else interesting that the developers touched on is the scope of Dying Light 2's map. It sounds like this is going to be a pretty huge game. The map is divided into 2 huge regions that are made up of several smaller zones. The map will also feature even more verticality than the first games, with the world being designed specifically to offer interesting opportunities for traversal. Dying Light 2 also looks very nice graphically. I was particularly impressed by the lighting effects and character models, and there's a strange beauty to the post-apocalyptic environments that have been reclaimed by nature. The last announcement we got in this episode of Dying to Know was Dying Light 2's Collector's Edition, which includes a steelbook case, an art book, a UV flashlight, and the big showpiece, a statue of protagonist Aiden Caldwell fighting a zombie. This is a really cool figurine that even features a working light. As far as collector's editions go, this is one of the nicer ones in recent memory. Dying Light 2 will be releasing on both current gen and last gen consoles on the 7th of December. While this is later than I would have expected, this actually seems like a pretty nice release date for this game. There probably won't be too many other games dropping in December, so it'll be nice to have a massive open world game to dive into over the holiday season. The fact that this was called Episode 1 means that this will be an ongoing series, so I just hope that they can tighten up the presentation of Episode 2 a little bit. Because there was a lot of good information in this presentation, but there was also a lot of fluff that caused this first episode to really drag at times. Next up, we have the second to last presentation of the week, the Horizon Forbidden West State of Play. I absolutely adored Horizon Zero Dawn. It was one of my favourite new IP of the last generation, and I have such fond memories of my time spent platinuming it. So Horizon Forbidden West has sat comfortably as my most anticipated game of 2021 since it was unveiled at the PS5 reveal event. Obviously, I was expecting this game to look good, but this showing blew my expectations out of the water. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that this is one of the best game demos I've ever seen. This demo continued to repeatedly wow me with both its constantly escalating action and its gorgeous visuals. If Horizon Forbidden West can hit the bar of quality that this demo makes me think it will, it's going to be something truly special. The first thing that struck me about Forbidden West was just how polished it looks visually. The first Horizon was a good looking game, but this is something else. This looks like it'll be joining Demon's Souls and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart as one of the PS5's biggest visual showpieces. The awe-inspiring environments are elevated by the stunning lighting and water effects. The breathtaking amount of attention to detail as the sun breaks through the foliage and fog hovers over the cold water really add an unparalleled degree of realism to the environments. Forbidden West also has some of the best looking character models I've ever seen. The facial animations are so lifelike, and the physics on Aloy's hair as she moves are really impressive. I'd almost forgotten that there's also going to be a PS4 version of this game, and I'll be very curious to see how much they'll have to downscale the game to get it running on PS4. No doubt this is another game that'll make any PS4 sound like a jet engine taking off. Gameplay wise, Horizon Forbidden West looks similar in a lot of ways to Zero Dawn. Aloy is still duking it out with countless robotic creatures, tactically stripping off parts of their armour with her trusty bow and arrow, and she's still able to take control of some of these enemies to use them as mounts or have them fight alongside her. But Aloy also has a few new gadgets in her arsenal that'll make traversing the map of Forbidden West a bit more frictionless. These new tools being a Batman-esque grappling hook, the Pullcaster, which will allow Aloy to quickly zip to higher ground or pull herself out of the way of danger, and a glider, the Shield Wing, which is very reminiscent of Link's glider in Breath of the Wild, and it will allow Aloy to safely descend from great heights. It's clear that the grapple and glider are inspired by mechanics that worked well in other games, which is good. Games are a very iterative medium, so it's always smart to look at your competition for inspiration to make your game better. In Zero Dawn, one advantage Aloy had over her enemies was her ability to override and control some machines. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, as this trailer also showcased raiders riding machines. With the raiders evening the odds a little, they have the potential to be a lot more of a threat to Aloy here. The bow combat was so damn good in Zero Dawn. Using different arrow types to dismantle enemies felt incredible, and it seems every bit as gratifying here. But one area that wasn't as strong in Zero Dawn was its melee combat, and that seems to have been addressed in Forbidden West, and it looks far better here. Aloy's melee combat seems to be a bit more combo based in Forbidden West, and it looks like it has a nice weightiness to it that'll give a satisfying impact to the hits. I also really liked seeing Aloy string together a combination of melee and ranged attacks in this demo, and it looks like it'll be a lot of fun experimenting with different ways to combine Aloy's different abilities in battle. Aloy also still has her sling from the first game as well, and we saw her using it here to fling an adhesive grenade at a gigantic enemy to slow it down, giving Aloy a bit more breathing room. Horizon Zero Dawn's enemy designs were remarkable, and Forbidden West's machines seem to have the same impressive degree of creativity in their designs. The mammoth enemy, known as a Tremotusk that Aloy was seen fighting at the end of the demo, was particularly impressive looking. This machine features so many intricate details in its armour, and I love that it has a platform on top of it filled with raiders who are riding it. Aloy's battle with this machine also showcased some impressive environmental destruction, as this monstrosity tore through the rocks and ruins in its path. I was also happy to see Aloy blast one of the Tremotusk's weapons off, then pick it up and use it against it, because this is one of the most fun ways to take down an enemy in Horizon Zero Dawn. So I'm glad I'll still be able to utilise this strategy in Forbidden West. Aloy's focus ability that highlights important things in the environment returns in Forbidden West, and it's even more useful now. Activating focus will highlight all the climbable surfaces in the environment. I love this idea. It's a far cleaner solution to highlight what's climbable than just slapping yellow or gold paint all over ledges like a lot of games do. Horizon Forbidden West's reveal trailer teased the implementation of underwater exploration, and we got a better look at this aspect of the game in this showcase. At one point in the demo, Aloy dived underwater to evade a group of machines. This was another moment where I was blown away by just how insanely good this game looks. The underwater areas are colourful, vibrant, and densely packed with plant life that Aloy can hide amongst to avoid the gaze of enemies, which will no doubt be essential when avoiding water-dwelling machines. We also thankfully got the confirmation that Aloy has an oxygen mask, which means you're free to explore underwater to your heart's content without ever having to worry about surfacing for oxygen. Which is great news, because nothing sucks the fun out of underwater sections as quickly as having to manage an oxygen bar. Horizon Forbidden West takes place across a post-apocalyptic version of America's West Coast, with this trailer giving us a glimpse at Guerrilla's take on San Francisco. You can see the famous wavy road of Lombard Street has now become a stream, and we of course got a shot of a dilapidated version of the iconic Golden Gate Bridge. I can't wait to explore this world for myself and see what other famous real-world locations will be popping up in Forbidden West. Well, I think I've probably gushed enough about how much I loved this demo, so let's move on to the final game I have to talk about, Far Cry 6. I've had a soft spot for the Far Cry franchise since Far Cry 3, and I've played every game in the franchise since, and I've mostly enjoyed them. But by the time we got to 2019's Far Cry New Dawn, it was clear that we were at the point that the Far Cry formula was in need of a shake-up to stop the series from growing stagnant. And with this being described as the most ambitious Far Cry game yet, I'm hoping that Far Cry 6 will be the game that infuses some new blood into Far Cry. Ubisoft clearly have all the pieces in place for Far Cry 6 to be a great game. The setting looks interesting, they've got the incredible Giancarlo Esposito starring as the game's antagonist Anton Castil, and the gameplay we saw in this presentation looked like the kind of ridiculous action I want out of Far Cry. I thought this was another really well done stream. Like the Sonic Central, this stream moved along at a really nice clip, at least once it finally got started. If you weren't watching this live, everyone tuned in when Ubisoft said the stream would be and excitedly watched the countdown tick down. Except when the countdown struck 0, instead of the presentation starting, we were all greeted with a second 30-minute long countdown before the stream actually started. I have no idea what the logic behind this decision was, but it was a truly baffling way to handle a stream. But once we actually got to the gameplay, I was pretty pleased with what we saw. As you'd expect out of a Far Cry gameplay reveal, we were bombarded with a whole lot of absurd over-the-top action. Far Cry 6 takes place in Yara, a fictional island in the Caribbean that's clearly inspired by Cuba. Yara's president is Anton Castil, a ruthless dictator who's oppressing Yara, forcing anyone who speaks out against him into forced labour. That's where Far Cry 6's protagonist, Danny Rojas, comes in. While initially apathetic towards the travesties occurring in Yara, only wanting to get out, Danny is compelled to fight back after seeing the horrors of Anton Castil's rule firsthand, becoming a freedom fighter and forming an army of other guerrilla fighters to overthrow Castil. You'll get to choose whether you want to play as a male or female Danny, and you'll be able to customize the character to your liking. Danny will also be a fully voiced protagonist with a personality, not a bland, silent protagonist like we've seen in some of the prior Far Cry games. Combat in Far Cry 6 looks absolutely bonkers, with an assortment of the series' most customizable and cartoonish weapons yet. A lot of these weapons are very crazy, makeshift creations that the guerrillas have put together from whatever they have. There's flamethrowers, a backpack that fires rockets in a very Boba Fett manner, and even a gun that launches CDs at enemies and plays the Macarena. This game is unafraid to be ridiculous, and that's a great thing, because I think Far Cry is at its best when it leans into its silly side. We also saw a lot of different vehicles in action. You'll be able to use cars, boats, tanks, and even planes to cause chaos across Yara. Danny also has a horse that you can use to traverse the map if you're craving something a little more low-key at any point. This gameplay trailer seemed to tease one big change for the franchise. It looked like Danny was wandering around the game's camps in third person. If you get to play parts of this game in third person, it'll be a first for the usually first person only franchise. I think this could be really cool, and a good way to make Danny feel more like a real character, and not just some generic avatar that you're controlling. Far Cry 6 also sees the return of the buddy system from Far Cry 5, meaning Danny will be able to have a teammate tag along for support as they explore the world. And once again, these teammates appear to be a mix of both human and animal companions, and it looks like they're continuing to be a bit goofy with the sidekicks, with this trailer showing an alligator companion, as well as a wiener dog named Chorizo. It seems like Yara will offer a lot of variety in its environments, with this presentation showing off both urban areas and dense jungles. But the thing that I'm most excited to see more of in Far Cry 6 is the villainous dictator Anton Castil. Giancarlo Esposito is one of the greatest actors in the world, and he certainly has a good track record of playing compelling villains. I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan, and I genuinely think that Gus Fring is one of the greatest villains of all time. And I also thought he absolutely killed it as Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian, so I can't wait to see what he brings to this role. I know this is a random tangent, but I've also got to give a shout out to the use of Run the Jewels in this trailer. I've been a huge fan of them for years, and it's awesome to see them getting so much love in movies, TV, and games lately. Far Cry 6 looks like it's going to be such a good time, and I'll definitely be picking it up when it releases on the 7th of October, so make sure to look out for my review when the time comes. Well, there you have it, my thoughts on all the big gaming showcases of the past week. Thanks for checking this video out. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be making a video in this style for all of the big showcases and press conferences going forward. I've also got a few different videos on the horizon, including one on the biggest game releases of June, and reviews for Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Biomutant. So if you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe.